How are you? I've been doing the collective fine. Awesome, awesome. It's good to be here again. I think we have Lola is not here. Praise God. Tusha came early today. Vivian is here. Who else is not here? Ibokun is here. I think it's just Lola that is not in class this afternoon. All right. I hope we're able to access yesterday's video as requested. Please let me know if you're able to access yesterday's video. Please let me know if you were able to access yesterday's video. I know a few people already. Okay, awesome. Awesome. All right. So today we are going to jump right into it. So yesterday we started talking about DML statements. Hold on, please. Okay, got it. All right. So yesterday we started with DML statements, right? And who can do a quick reminder of what we learned yesterday? All right, I need somebody to do a quick reminder or remind us of what we learned yesterday as we begin the class. Lola, welcome. I was almost starting you up. Welcome. Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
All right. Lola, welcome. All right. I was asking for what we learned yesterday. Who can try? Madam Anita is trying to talk, but her mic is muted.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. So we talked about DML statement yesterday. Yeah. So we talked about how to retrieve data by using the select statement, and we did the arithmetic expression. That's the board mass thing on how to like calculate it on your data on your database. And we did protection and joining.
All right. All right. That's awesome. Well done. I want somebody else to try. Yesterday everybody was in class. I want somebody else to try again.
Yes, sir. So
Yeah.
I started with a class assessment. You asked about DBMS, asked about the previous things we did in general, alter statement and the rest. So then we jumped right into, you talked about crude. First we jumped right into DML, data manipulation language. Then you said what people learn online or every other literature, what they usually teach is just crude, which is create, read, update, and delete. But there's more to SQL than just out of the 14 SQL languages, they only teach crude. So then we started with the select statement. You said the select statement helps to retrieve data from database. It has three main functionalities, which is projection, selection. Then the selection is like retrieval, then joining. Then we talked about this projection and selection. You said the projection is like you select columns in a table that is actually returned by a query. Then you said the select it selects rows on the table that are returned as well. It's joined to bring data stored in different tables together. So then we went ahead to do some of the, did practical examples of the selects and the projections.
Awesome. Awesome. That's a beautiful recap, right? So that's beautiful. So that means everybody was following me yesterday. Wow, beautiful. All right. So yesterday we started with talking about projection, selection, and joining as the components or capabilities of an SQL select statement, right? And we looked at it and said that with select statements, we're able to use the select and select as a keyword where our projection is done. Then from as the table where we are selecting the data from, right, or where the data resides, right? So, and then we began to look at examples from yesterday. We looked at a few examples, and we also started talking about how to use arithmetic expressions, arithmetic operators to form expressions, form arithmetic expressions on in our projections. And we talked about pseudo columns that are generated due to the influence of arithmetic operators, right? And yes, we talked about BODMAS and how to use BODMAS in how BODMAS work, how the arithmetic operators are being how they are being executed or how they are being um, prioritized, right? We talked about the fact that bracket and order are more are of high priority as compared to division and multiplication, and division and multiplication have high priority as compared to addition and subtraction, right? And we used that in SQL yesterday. Now, what I want you to do quickly, if you can hear me. Lola, can you hear me now, please? Please let me know if you can hear me.
Yep.
Awesome. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So what I want everybody to do is there's a code that I shared with you. I shared the HR schema with you some time ago. Can you remember? Can you remember? I shared the HR schema with you some time ago. Can you remember?
Yes.
Yes. If you still have it, I want you to launch that schema. We want to use the schema. So I want everybody to do that now. If you have not done that, if you have done that, just say I. You have done it. If you have not done that, I want everybody to get that schema up and running now.
So can you send the schema to us again?
Laptop.
Okay. Lola, what did you say?
I don't have my laptop. I'm not close to my house. I'm not with my laptop.
Oh, okay. You can always do that when you get it.
Yeah, thank you.
Madam Anita, please, you need to unmute yourself. I can't hear you. You need to unmute yourself. I know you are talking, but I can't hear you. Okay. Somebody said I should send the schema again. Okay, let me try to do that. All right, so I'm sending the HR schema to you on WhatsApp again. Please download it and run the codes. Right, you have to create the schema. Just run all the codes that you find inside that schema. Right, I just sent it on WhatsApp now. So please let me know when you are done because that schema is very important for where we are in this training as we need to proceed. So please, when you've done it, just let me know so that I can continue from where we stopped. Are you following me? Are you following me?
Sorry, where do we start to run? Because I can see apart from the job history, that's where it ended. To we run
What you should
everything,
what you should
everything.
have what you should have should look like this. What you should have should look like this. Come in. What you should have should start from here, from drop schema to this code. Can you see this line? From 1 to line 2624. It's about 2,624 lines of code. Can you see? Do you have that?
Let me check. Yes, I think.
Please, if you have installed, just let me know that you have. Just say I have installed, or I have the schema already, so that we can move on. Madam Anita, I can see you are trying to talk, but you have to unmute yourself. Your mic is muted, right? You have to unmute yourself. I can't hear you. All right, I'm waiting for people. I'm waiting. Madam Anita, just chat me up on WhatsApp. I don't think you can
Okay, so
hear me.
I have,
Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
I
Yes, I
have
can hear you.
everything.
Okay, Patricia, good, awesome. Madam Anita, talk to me.
Sir, okay. You said we should download it. Is it going to be on our SQL worksheet?
I can't hear you.
The
You said
HRO
it's
that you
going
said
to.
we should download. Is it going
Yes,
to be on my bench on our SQL worksheet?
yes. Just download the code and double tap the code. Just double click on the code. It will open up in your workbench.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Vivian, talk to me.
I got it, sir.
You have it already. So Trisha, Vivian, John, what's up? I know what's up. And Lola is not with our system, so we are waiting for John and Oluwapo. All right, I think we can continue. All right. So yesterday we stopped at talking about null values, and I explained to you that null values are values that, but null values does not mean that the value is zero or that it's a blank space. It's just that it's a value that we do not know at the moment. Mute your mic.
Can you hear me?
Please, yes, I can hear you, ma.
Okay. I tried to open my own. It's saying open with Microsoft Word. Open with this. You didn't just open it directly for me.
And then look for Microsoft. I mean, MySQL Workbench in the list of applications.
You didn't bring it out. You didn't bring my SQL Workbench out for me.
Okay, we'll
You
do with
just
that
got that
after.
notepad. Okay.
We'll do with that after. Please, let me mute your mic. Thank you. All right. So we stopped yesterday at null values, and then we said null values are values that are unassigned, unavailable, unknown, or inapplicable, right? And I told you that anytime you use a null value in an expression, right? And we saw that yesterday, right? Yes, I was supposed to send a code for Madam Anita's question yesterday, but I've not been able to get through to it, right? But I'll do that. I'll do that very soon, right? All right. So we want to continue today, and then we'll continue with defining column alias, right? Column alias. So yesterday we started creating pseudo columns, right? Remember we said that pseudo columns are not real columns. They are just as a result. They are there as a result of an expression, right? They are there as a result of an expression in your as a result of an expression that is as a result of an operator that you used um on a particular column, right? So what now happens when what you see is that they generate ambiguous names, right? If you look at this, let's run this again. Let's see if it's going to.
Sorry, sir.
Yes,
Last class yesterday, you said that we'll look at MVL. It was
yes. I said
yesterday.
I will look at it.
Yes.
We'll look at it. Don't worry. We'll look at MVL. We'll look at MVL. I've not been able to generate the code that we would use for MVL, but we'll look at it. Don't worry. Right. So what we have here is so if I run this, right? All right, that is running, fetching, and then it's supposed to give us some results. Awesome, right? So he gave us these results, right? Look at the code and look at the result that he gives to us, right? Of course, we know that he gave us employee ID, first name, salary, commission percentage, job ID, salary multiplied by commission percentage, and salary multiplied by 12, right? So these guys came out the way they are named in the projection or in the select list, right? They came out the way they are named in this. So the same way they appear here is the way they appear in the result. Can you see? The same way they appear in the results, right? So now what happens is that you want to be able to, this is not cool, right? This is not cool. This doesn't appear cool, right? We want to be able to say and look at it and say, okay, this does not appear cool. We need to be able to give it a more appropriate name, right? We want to give it a more appropriate name. And funny enough, it's not just expressions that we can give appropriate names. Take, for example, you as a developer, you are probably understand what post underscore name means, right? Or you understand what employee underscore ID means, or you understand what commission underscore PCT means, right? Or what job ID means, right? Or job underscore ID, right? These are not regular names that we use every day. So you want to be able to, in your report generation, you want to be able to give these columns appropriate names, not ambiguous names, appropriate names that whoever is seeing the report will be able to understand what these names means. And that is where the word alias comes in, right? So we can generate alias for column headings. It says alias allows us to rename a column alias renames a column heading. That is, we give an alias, we give a name, right? A name, a new name, not a new name though, but like an alias. Of course, we all know what an alias means. An alias does not mean that that is your exact name, but it's like a popular name or a short form of your name or a representation of your name that people give to you, right? So we can do the same to columns, right? And we can use it for calculations, right? It says it is useful with calculations, immediately follows the column name. The ask optional keyword can be used between the column and the column name and the alias. It requires double quotation mark if it contains spaces or special characters, or if it is case sensitive, right? I want to just look at a bit of an example, right, in how to do that, right? How to make our SQL statement cooler. So take for example, right, I want to say So from this code, okay, let me just copy this code. Let's just leave this code this way. Let me copy this code. Just paste this here. So I'm going to say defining column aliases, right? Now, so department ID, right? So I don't want it to appear as department ID. I just want to appear as identity. So I'm just going to put identity. Right? I'm just going to put identity. Now, how do we name an alias, right? You name an alias in two ways, right? Is that you give the name immediately after you name your column. So this is my column name, right? Of course, we know that that's employee ID. That, and I would instantly name my column alias. Are we there? Right? Or I put what we call an as optional keyword, right? As optional keyword. So I'm saying first name as what do we call first name? First name as first name, right? First name as first name. So I want it to come out that way. I don't want it to come out as first underscore name. So I want the column heading to have a first name like that. The salary is awesome, right? Salary can be salary. Then we can call this commission percentage. So we can use the as optional keyword again and say commission percent, or let's just call it commission, right? Let's just call it commission, right? Job ID as job ID, right? Job ID as job ID. Coming, right? So salary multiplied by commission would be, say, bonus. Let's call that bonus, right? So if you look at it, I'm not using the as optional keyword here, just naming the alias. Then I'll call this annual salary, right? Because it's going to contain two names. I mean, two annual salary. If you look at it, all right. So if you look at it, what we have now, if you look at it, what we have initially in the first statement was that this guy was employee ID, right? Employee ID came as employee ID. First name came as first underscore name. Employee ID came as employee underscore ID. This came as first underscore name. Salary, commission underscore percentage, job underscore ID, salary multiplied by commission underscore percentage, and salary multiplied by 12, right? But we said that wasn't cool, right? So we started giving them aliases. So I called employee ID identity, first name on the first underscore name as what? First name, right? Salary came out as salary, commission percentage, commission underscore PCT as commission, job ID as job ID, right? Or we can see job description. All right, we didn't name that, but we could have called it job description. Salary multiplied by commission percentage as bonus, and salary multiplied by 12 as annual salary. If you look at the header or the headings of all these columns now, you see that what you have there is their aliases. The ones that we give aliases, right? The aliases what showed up in that column, right? Or showed up as a column heading. That is what aliases do, right? And if you notice, there are two ways that we named the aliases, right? The first is that your alias comes immediately after the column name. The alias came immediately after the column name. It's a space in between the original column name and the alias they are giving to it, right? But that would not work if your alias would contain two words, right? If your alias is going to contain two words, that would not work. So if your alias is going to contain space, right? What did we do? We put it into what? Into double quotation mark, right? And it will work that way. You put it into double quotation mark and it will work. And of course, you can also use the as optional keyword. Now, the as is optional, right? If you look at it in this situation, right, we did not use the as, but here we're using the as. In this place, we did not use the as optional word. And here we're using the as optional word. So this is how to name column aliases, right? This is how to name column aliases. That's basically how to name columnist. So if I copy all of this now, right, and we say paste, I say commission, sorry, multiply by 100, right? If I run this, let's see what it gives to us. Try that before. All right, so what I wanted to see, it didn't work, right? It didn't work, right? So this is basically how you use what aliases, right? This is basically how you use like how you name an alias. This is basically how you name an alias, right? So aliases are good. So when you give an alias to a keyword, what happens is that to a column, right? It's supposed to give you a more. We use alias to give a more descriptive name to the column, right? Such that people who do not understand our ambiguous names can understand what we mean by. So what it means that the column names, the way the column names are, is not what is going to be generated, but the aliases that we've given to the column names, right? So basically, that is what we use an alias for, right? The next thing that we want to look at is the concatenation operator. The concatenation operator, right? And what is concatenation? Concatenation would be that we say that when you say you do a concatenation, it says concatenation operator links columns or character strings to other columns, right? We use the concatenate function to add two or more expressions together. So when we talk about concatenation, right? When we talk about concatenation, we use concatenation. Concatenation is a function. It's a built-in function, right? Called concat, right? And what does it do? It takes a column A and also add it what to a column B. Are you following me? So that we have what? A result of what? AB. Or it takes a column A and adds it to what? To an expression, right? Or to a literal character, right? And it gives us A and the expression, right? You see an example of it as we proceed. So concatenation is just our way of joining two things together, right? So take for example, let's see an example of concatenation. Let's see an example of concatenation, right? I hope we're following me. Right. So if I say select first name, if I say first name, right? Sorry, concatenate, concat, you follow me, first underscore name, comma, right? And I say concatenate that with space, right? I created space that way, and I say concatenate with last name again, last underscore name, right? Is so I'm concatenating this now with is a, right? So I say job underscore ID. I say in the company. I say from where? From something is wrong in that corner. All right, I didn't close my. All right. from employees. Right. So if you look at this example, I hope everybody can see, right? What we are doing is that we're taking the first name column, we're concatenating it with space. Can you see there's a space in between this guy, right? There's a space here. There's a space here. Can you see? Concatenating that with what? With last name, right? And I'm concatenating that with space is a what? Is a, then I'm concatenating with what? With another column called job ID. Then I'm concatenating everything with what? In the company, space in the company, right? If I run this code, we'll see what it will give to us now. Can you see? Let's edit that a little bit. There's a joining somewhere. So I'm going to space that now. Okay, so we'll run that now again. So that, yeah, look at it. Can you see the results? So I say, let's call that, let's call it as employees description.
Sorry, sir. Please, can I
Yes.
ask? What's the function of the concatenate?
What's the function?
Yes. What does it
Yes.
do?
What does it do, Abby?
Yeah.
Can you see the results that I just generated? Right? Concatenation is our way of making sense of the data that you have in your database, right? So take, for example, you are asked to generate an employee's description, like a short employee's description or a short description about each of your employees, right? This is basically, look at this. This Stephen King is a AD press in the company, right? Nekocha is a, or is an, whatever we want to call it, that is, can you see? So what you have just done is that the data that you have, right, you have converted it to a meaningful sentence or a meaningful situation or the meaningful information using concatenation, right? Concatenation allows us to join two columns together, right? And it also helps us to introduce character literal, right? Character literal, you know that there is nothing called is a in the database, right? There's nothing called in the company that we have here in the database, right? But with concatenation, I'm able to introduce them into what? Into the database to make meaning out of all of the what data that you have there. So Stephen is coming from first name, King is coming from last name. Is character literal, AD press is coming from job ID, and in the company is a character literal. Does that make sense now? So you can use it to do a whole lot of stuff. So if they say generate a report of employees their departments okay, their employees, their job ID, sorry, their job ID and salary, right? So they ask you to generate a report of all employees, their job ID and their salary, right? And say make it make sense, right? Annual reports, right? So maybe your investors came into the company and all that. So basically, what you just want to do is say select concat. Are you following me? Select concat um, um, employee underscore ID, comma, is employee that is who now? His first name, right? Who, let's bring this down. Who is a member of the, or who's, sorry, whose job on job ID or job description is job ID and he and receives a salary of pull out salary, right? So from where? From employees, right? So what did we do? We say select what? Concatenate employee with the employee ID is the employee with the employee ID is first name concatenated with last name concatenated with whose job description is this. His job ID receives the salary of salary. So if we run this now, let's call that as what? Let's call it employees description. Right? So if we run this now, what we get is something like this. Hold on, there's a missing, what happened there? Let's see. Hold on, please. Oh, thank you. Sorry, I'm back. Right, so let's concatenate what exactly is the problem? Let me look for it. Is employee ID, first name, last name.
You didn't close the concatenate.
Oh, see, thank you. Basically, that's what it is. All right, so seeing where my error is. All right, so let's run this now. Should give us a beautiful result now. Awesome. Right. Um, there's a space needed here. Mhm. Who's okay? So let's edit it well. So who's is joining with the last name? Let's run that again. All right. So look at the result that we have. Let me increase this a little bit. Look at the result that we have. Right. So you're saying the employee with um the employee with the employee. Of course, understand what I'm trying to. I'm just trying to show you. The employee 110 is John. Look at it. Expanding that so that we can see everything. All right. Okay. Let's make it make sense. Sorry. The employee number. All right. So look at it. It says the employee with the employee number 100 is Stephen King. Is AD Press and receives a salary of 24,000. Can you see? Can you see? So we did that for everybody in the company. It's as simple as that, right? What you have is that you took the data inside the database, inside that table, right? And you concatenated it with accompanying literals or accompanying text to make sense out of it, right? So what you're doing now is that if they ask you to submit a report, right, what you do is just you print this out and you give it to whoever needs the report, right? That makes sense to them more than you just running a data that doing projections and selections without explaining what you have done, right? This makes more sense to somebody who is not in the IT department. This makes more sense to them than what we usually send or what we usually do without concatenation. But basically, what you should learn from here is that concatenation is our way or helps us, is the function that helps us to concatenate two columns together or two columns together or columns with what? With expression, right? So, and it doesn't have to be with, right? It doesn't have to be with what's it called? With expressions. I can basically just say select first name, uh, first underscore name, right? Hold on. Right? Last, right? So if you run this, right, you see that there's no character literal in there, there's no literal character in it. Basically, it just gives me what? This, right? So this is an expression, right? Don't forget, this is also an expression, right? And what we used it to do is used it to generate an expression pseudo column, right? This columns is a pseudo column. We just joined two data together, two columns together. The first name concatenated what with the last name. That's what we've just done, right? So that is basically how concatenation works. Any question? Any question? Any question? Any question? Right. All right, awesome. So with that question, I'm moving to the next thing, right? You said talk about distinct keywords for duplicated rows. Any question? Somebody wants to ask me a question.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
ma'am.
I don't understand that aliases, the first one you explained, the aliases. Then for this concatenation, the last one you did, the first name and the last name. The first name, when you concatenate the first name and the last name, there was no space. What if you want to put space? How do you concatenate it?
Okay. In this one, let me answer this one first. If you want to put space, all you just need to do is create space in between. right? Space would be space is a literal, right? So this is space. Can you see? What I've just done here is I've just added space to what it is. So if I run this now, there is space in between them now. Can you see?
Okay, yeah, I've seen
All right, so that is space, right? And we talked about aliases. Alias is the name that we give an ambiguous. Look at this perfect. Look at this one that we just ran, right? You see that the name of the column that is generated is the name of the expression that generated it. Look at it. This is the name of the column. Doesn't make sense that the name of this column is concatenate into bracket first underscore name, comma, space, comma, last underscore name, right? It doesn't make sense, right? So which means that to make that make more sense, I will just give it an alias and say as full name, right? I just call it full name, right? So if I run that now, it gets an alias called full name. Can you see? It becomes full name. That's what an alias is. An alias helps us give more descriptive names or optional names to what? To column or to column names. That's basically what an alias is. Do you understand it now? Hello, do you
Yes,
understand?
yes, I do. Thank you.
Awesome. All right.
Yes, I'm here, sir.
All right. Now, the next thing we want to talk about today, I hope everybody's following me, is the distinct keyword, right? The distinct keyword for duplications. Now it says,
Don't follow up for this one.
yeah,
I didn't follow up at all.
who is that? Who didn't follow up?
It's Vivian.
Vivian, what did you miss?
Like I was just network was really bad, so I would just come in and then it's hanging and I'm out and I'm in again. I didn't get it.
What did you miss? What did you miss?
The alias, the concatenate.
The alias and concatenation. I would have referred you to the video, but it's all right. Let me just go through it again quickly. Don't we have a lot to cover, right? So we talked about aliases, right? So I'm going to use this to show you both of them, right? Concatenation is the concatenation. We use the concatenation function, that is the concat function, right? To concatenate two columns together, right? And we can also add literals to it, right? So look at this example here. We're using the concatenation function. If you look at it, all that we want to concatenate together, concatenation means you're joining two things together. That's what it means basically, right? So everything that I want to join together is inside the concatenate bracket, right? You see, first name is a column. We're concatenating that with space, right? And we're concatenating that with what? With last name. And we're giving it an alias, a full name, right? If I remove the alias, right, and I run this, right? Concatenation, let's remove the alias and the space, right? If you run that, if you run this statement now, right, it would not give you too much of sense, right? Look at it. Look at the name of the column. Can you see that the name of the column is an ambiguous name, right? Nobody understands what that means, right? Because it is generated by the what? By is an expression that is generated with what? With the concat function, right? So what do we do, right? The first thing, and if you look at the result is joined together. The first name and the last name are joined together, so which makes it doesn't really make sense that way, right? So first thing we want to do is introduce space to divide the first name from the last name, or to separate the first name from the last name, right? So we're going to concatenate space in between the first name and the last name. So how do we do that? We enclose space, that's a tab, just type your space bar, right, into what? Into a double quotation mark. So in between this guy, you have what? You have space, right? Then you have the last name. So if you run this now, right? If you run this now, that solves the problem of space in between Steve and King, right? But the column alias comes in. Alias is a name that we give a column or an expression to make more sense, right? So in this situation, I'm going to give it full name as an alias, right? So instead of it bringing that terrible long meaningless name that we have initially, which is what you have here. Of course, it makes meaning to me, but to whoever is looking at it that is not a SQL user will not understand what this means, right? So and you want to assume that your HR or whoever is asking for the report does not understand what you're doing. So what do? You run and you give what you want, what you're doing an alias, and this makes sense eventually. So you're saying that the full name of all your employees are what you have inside this list. Basically, that's what you have. Does that make sense now?
Yes, sir. So the AS is the alias.
Eh? The AS is not the alias. The alias there is the full name. We use the AS to specify the alias, right? We use the AS, and it's optional. If I remove the AS, it is still going to work, right? If I remove the AS, it is still going to work. Look at it. It still works, right? So the AS is optional, right? But usually, for clarification, it's usually good to put the AS. So the as is an optional keyword, right? But you just name your alias afterwards, after the column of the expression. Does that make sense now?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Awesome. All right. So we want to talk about distinct keywords, right? Distinct keywords for duplicated rows. It says select distinct statement is used to return only distinct words, different values, distinct values. That is different values. It says a columns in a table could contain many duplicate words values. To get the list of all columns without duplication, you use the words distinct keywords in the select words in the select statement, right? So what do we do with distinct keywords, right? Distinct keywords helps us to know the distinct values that you have in a column, distinct values that you have in a column, right? So take for example, you are asked to generate a list of all the departments of all the departments IDs and job generate a list of all distinct department IDs and job IDs from the employees generate a list of all distinct department IDs and job IDs in the company. All right. Right, in the company, right? So you are asked to generate a list of distinct department IDs, that is department IDs that are distinct, right? And job IDs that are distinct, right? So let us see the undistinct ones before the distinct ones. So take for example, if I say select department ID, I follow me. Then I say select job ID, right, from employees, right? What will this give us? This will give us, can you see? This gives us a duplication. There's a duplication of values. Can you see? 90, 90, 90, 90, right? And it's saying that the people in department 90 is the admin department. Can you see? That's where you have the president, you have the admin VPs. You have one president and you have two VPs. Department 60, you have what? The IT programmers in department 60. Department 100 is the finance department. Can you see? You have department 30 as the purchasing department, right? Department 50 is the stock department. And if you look at them, inside each of those departments, you have different job IDs. Look at department 90. You have department 90, but inside of it, you have admin press and you have what? Admin VP. That is admin president and admin VP, right? Which means that inside department 90, there are two kinds of job ID, right? So we do not want this duplication. Look at this is a duplication, right? This is a duplication. This is two people actually. This is two people, right? How do I know it is two people? If I say add their what? Employee ID to it, employee underscore ID to it, you discover that it is two people. And what does that mean in real life? It means that in the department, it is not just one person that you have in the department, right? You have 5 people sharing the same role or having the same role, right? In a bank, you have people who are in the marketing department, right? That are all marketing agents, right? Or you have a marketing manager, you have an assistant marketing manager, and you have several other marketing agents, right? And in that department, that says that in the marketing department we have 10 people. Out of 10 people, we have a marketing manager, we have an assistant marketing manager, and the remaining 8 are what? Are just marketers. Yeah, let's call them marketers, right? They're just marketers, right? So it means that in that department alone, you have 3 job IDs, right? But I want to see the distinct job IDs, which means that I want a representation of each of the job IDs, right? So that I know each of the job role that we have. I want to know how many job roles that we have in the company, not how many employees that we have in the company, how many distinct job roles that we have in the company, right? So how do we do that? So I'm just going to remove the employee ID. So I'll use the word distinct. Right? Distinct job ID and department ID and job ID. Right. Can you see now? Can you see? If you look at it, the result is shorter compared to what we had before. What we had before is 107 rows, but what we have now is 20. Right? And what does that mean? It means that in each department, it brings me the distinct job IDs that you have there. So the essence of distinct is to remove duplicates in your data. Right? Distinct helps you to remove what? Duplicates in a data set or in your column, right? Helps you to remove duplicates in your columns. That's the essence of the word distinct. I hope you understand what I mean. So what do we have? What we have on the screen is that we have a result that says that in department 90, right, we have 2 distinct job IDs. That's why department ID 90 came out, right? But it has what? 2 distinct job IDs, right? You have admin press and you have what? AD press, right? Admin press and ADVP, that's the VP. Now look at IT. We have just one department 60. Although in the initial results there were 6 of them in that department, but it brought out a distinct a distinct value for them. That is department 60 is IT programming, IT programmers, right? Then look at it, you have department 100. In department 100, they have the financial manager and they have financial accountants, right? Look at department 30, you have purchasing manager and purchasing clerk, right? Department 50, you have stock manager and stock clerk, right? Department 80, you have sales manager and sales rep. Can you see? Can you see? Then we also have another sales rep that does not have what? That is, we have a job ID that does not have a department yet. Don't worry, we'll talk about that much later. Then we have department 50, right? And look at it. So department 50 has stock manager and it has stock clerk. Can you see? Department 50 has stock manager, stock clerk, and it has maybe shop clerk or whatever this, but the same department as it. Look at it. Department 10, right? Department 10 still has AD. Let me do this. Let me say order by. Don't worry about the order by. We'll talk about order by later. Order by department, so that we can group everything together. Order by department underscore ID. Right? We'll talk about order by later. Right? Just want to bring all the results together. Order by. Let's see. All right, look at it. So let's go to the department that has more representation. 10, 10, 10. So look at it. Look at department 20. You have marketing manager and your marketing rep, right? Department 30. You have purchasing clerk and purchasing manager, right? HR is what you have in 40. 50, look at it. In 50, we have shop clerk, we have a ship clerk or whatever that is. We have a stock clerk and we have and the stock manager, right? Then we have programmers. We have so you see what you have is what I've just done is just collate every department together, right? Using the order by. We'll talk about order by later. Don't worry about it, right? So, but what I want you to understand from here is that when you want a distinct value, when you want all the distinct value, you want to remove duplicates, right? From your value in a column, right? We use what? We use the distinct keyword. I follow you. We use what? The distinct keyword. So if I look at if I let's run another example. Let's say that we want to know distinct salaries on the of course several people earn the same salary, right? But want to know generate all distinct salaries. In the company. Right? Want to generate distinct salary. So what do? You say select distinct and the column that you want to check the distinct from, right? From employees. Distinct. Can you see? So what it means is that we have 57 different types of salary. 57 different types of salary. That's what we have, right? But we have 107 people in the company. So which means that there are some people who earn the same salary, right? There are some people who earn the same salary. If I remove the distinct keyword from here, right, and I run just this, right, you see that it will bring out all the duplicated value. Can you see? 17,000, 17,000. 48, I mean 4,800, 4,800, right? You will see all the duplicated values. A lot of them, a lot of duplicated values, right? A lot of duplicated values. You see them all in that data set, right? You see them if I order by salary. Don't worry, we'll talk about this much later, right? Awesome. So it has been arranged so you can see them. Look at this 12,000. How many people are receiving 12,000? 3 people receive 12,000, right? 11,500. How many people receive 11,000? 3 people receive the same salary, 11,000. Some 2 people, 10,500. About 4 people, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 people on 10,000. 2 people on 9,500. 3 people on 9,500. How many people? 4 people on 9,000. And that is how the salary is duplicated down, 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 down. But if I want to know the distinct salary, what do? I just say distinct salary. So it will remove what? It will remove all the duplicates in that column, right? And tells me that each of the values that you have here are not what? They are not duplicated, right? They are not duplicated. They are not duplicated. The values that you have here are not duplicated. That is how to work with distinct keyword. Please let me know if you understood or if you understand what we just talked about. Please let me know. Please let me know. Before we move to chapter 6, please let me know if you understood what I just explained.
Yes, I explained.
Sir, please, can you just run over the first one you did that you later added employee ID?
This one?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what we did here, well, like I said, is that we want to see the distinct department ID. Same way we saw distinct salary, we want to see the distinct department IDs and the distinct job IDs in the company. What we are saying is that we want to know how many department IDs do we have, how many job IDs do we have in each department ID. That's basically what we're trying to do, right? How many department ID do we have? How many job IDs do we have in each department ID, right? So you have 10 people, you have 5 people in IT programmer, I mean in the IT department, right? You have an IT manager, you have a developer, you have a software developer, you have a backend developer, you have a front-end developer, you have an SQL developer, you have a data scientist, right? That all of these things that I just specified, they are job roles, right? They are job IDs, and what that means is that they are distinct, right? So the data scientist is different from the software developer, even though they are in the same department. So it means that they are in the same department, but their job IDs are different, right? But we want to see all the distinct what department IDs and job IDs. So if you run this statement, it will give you a list of all the departments, like we have in department 20. So you have department 10 that has what admin assistants, right? In department 20, what you have is you have 20 in this single department. You have the marketing manager and the marketing rep, right? Now, that doesn't mean that you only one marketing rep you have in this department, right? What you have actually is multiple people who are or more than one person who is the marketing rep. But in this situation, we just want to see the distinct value for each of them. Like you're saying that you just need a representation of each job ID. Do you understand what I'm saying? Let me know if you understood that.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Any other question before I move on? Right? Before I move on. Any other question? Awesome. Right? So let's continue. Right? So today we'll be concluding our class today with restricting and sorting data. Restricting and sorting data. We're still on an SQL statements, right? We'll be restricting and sorting data. I think we still have more time. Awesome. We still have about 1 hour, 15 minutes. Awesome. So we want to talk about restricting data. What is restricting data and how do we restrict data? Right? How do we restrict data? How do we sort data? Right? Say limiting the rows that are selected. Right? It says rows returned by a select statement can be restricted using the where clause. The where clause comes after the from clause. Right? The from clause contains a condition that must be met. If the condition is true, the rows meeting the condition is returned. Are you following me? It says the where clause can compare values in columns, in literals, in arithmetic operators or functions. Since it consists of 3 elements: the column name, the comparison condition, the column name, the constant or a list of what values, right? Basically, what we are saying is that so far, if you look at it, so far, what we've been generating has been long. Of course, we understand what projection means now. So say anytime you use your select statement and you have a list of of columns on the select list. I mean your select statement, right? What you are doing is a projection, right? But now, how do we do a selection, right? If you look at it, so far we've been doing selections, but the selections has been all selection. We've been returning all the rows from the table. We've been returning all the rows from the table. So the question is, how do we restrict what is returned? Restricting rows, right? So how do we restrict rows? If we can restrict the number of columns returned, remember that is projection, right? In the first example that we did yesterday, I showed you that the table has 11 columns, and we use the asterisks to generate all the columns, right? But then afterwards, we began to do what? We began to do restriction, although of course we call it projection now, right? We began to reduce the number of columns that is returned based on the business case that we're attending to, right? So in this situation, we're now saying that in all of those results, we've been returning all the rows in the table, right? So we're saying that how do we generate a restriction? How do we generate a restriction? How do we do a restriction on the number of rows returned? We do a restriction with what we call the where clause, right? We do restrictions with what we call the where clause. We use the where clause. The where clause, right? The where clause. Right? Where clause is what we use in doing restrictions. Right? And we say that instead of returning all these rows, right, use this condition to restrict. And what that means is that it is only the conditions that meet, or only the rows that meet the condition. Look at it here. It says the where condition contains the where clause contains the condition that must be met. If the condition is true, the row meeting the condition is what is returned. So we need a condition that must be met. If that condition is true, what happens? The rows that meet that condition will be returned. So let's do an example. If I say generate a full report of all the employees in the IT department, right? Generate a full report of all the employees in the IT department. I told you yesterday that from your business case, right, it can be as simple as this and it can be complex. But what you're looking for is you want to see the keywords in your business case that will point you to how you're going to write your SQL statement, right? So from here, I'm saying, of course, I need to generate a full report that contains of all the employees, right? Of all the employees in the IT department. So I'm looking for all information about all the employees, but not all the employees in the database or in the table, right? From just the IT department. So I have to restrict my results to people in the IT department. So what do I do? So I say select, right? So we can say select employee ID. That's the, I can just say select all from employees, right? Now, the where clause comes after the from clause. So I say where what? Where? What am I looking for? What are we looking for? Who can tell me? Where what? Where generate the report of all employees in the what? In the IT department. So we're looking for people in the IT department. Only people in the IT department. So I say where job underscore ID, and this what column matches or contains what? The IT description. It's the job ID. So I say where job ID equals IT underscore programmer. IT underscore pro. Right? That's the way they exist on this database. Right? So if I run this now, what happens? Can you see? Can you see? You see that again, it gives me all how many rows? Just 5 rows, right? Just 5 rows. Just 5 rows is returned. Right? What that means? What that means is that only 5 people on the database is in this department. Only 5 people met this condition. Only 5 people was only 5 people or only 5 rows met what? Met this condition or this criteria, right? And this is what is returned. So you can see them, all of them having the same what? The same department. Can you see the same job description? IT what? IT programmer, right? IT programmer. Can you see them? That is what you have, right? So what we have done here is a restriction, right? We can basically say generate a report of all employees that earn above $10,000, right? Generate a report of all employees that are above that earn above what? $10,000, right? So who's going to write this for us? I need somebody to write this for me. I need somebody to unmute a mic, this or a mic, and just write this for me. Tell me what to write. Come on, people. I'm waiting.
Let me try.
Okay.
Okay, so you say select all from employees where salary is greater than 10,000. I don't know.
My salary is greater than Abi. This is how I'm going to write it.
No.
Okay, how am I supposed to write it?
Can you not use the greater than this thing sign?
So I have to use the greater than sign, Abi. Is that what you're saying?
Let's see if it will run.
Say let's see. All right, you got it actually. Right. Now, one thing I want you to look at is look at the syntax, right? I want you to look at the syntax. I want everybody to pay attention to what I'm saying now. Look at the syntax. In the first word clause that we did, I'm going to it, right? We have the column. So your word clause needs three things. It needs a column, the column where it is returning, that a column where it is checking, that is a column where the condition is going to be applied. The condition is that you're using an operator, right? You're going to be using an operator, a comparison operator. A comparison operator means that you are using a symbol that you would use to compare values. Are you following me? A symbol that you will use to compare values. And if we look at operators, those kind of operators are comparison operators are all right. These are all of them, right? These are the comparison operators that we use. We use equals to, right? You use equals to, you use greater than, you use greater than or equals to, you use less than, you use less than or equals to. You use not equals to, right? You use the between, right? We use the in, we use the like, and we use that is what is null operator, right? I'm going to talk about all of these guys as we proceed. So that is what you need in your where clause. Look at it. It says the where clause can compare values in columns, literals, arithmetic. Can compare values in columns, in literals, in arithmetic expressions or functions, right? And it needs what? It needs the column name, the comparison of condition, and a column and a list of what? A list of values, right? Look at it. The column name. Can you see the column name, the operator, and what? The values that you are checking for, right? So in this place, we are checking for IT programmer, right? We're saying that the job ID must be equals to IT program, right? In this situation, we're saying that salary that ends above what? Ends that end above what? 10,000. So what are we checking? From the word N, we know that we're talking about the salary. So salary, where salary is above means greater, right? So we don't write greater than, right? What we do is we use the symbol greater than and the value that we're checking. So if I run this now, it will give me a list of everyone earning above $10,000, right? You look at it, we have about 15 of them. 15 people earn above $10,000 on the database. Are you following me? 15 people earn above $10,000 on the database. Now you don't have to also select, you don't have to always do a total projection. You can just do a selective projection by saying return the employee ID, right? Employee ID, first underscore name, last underscore name, job ID, salary, right? From employees, where what salary is greater than what? 10,000, right? Now, if you look at it, because it is a number, numbers are not usually put into what? Single quotation mark, right? Numbers are usually not put into double quotation mark, single or double quotation mark. Numbers do not need quotation mark, right? It is only character literals, that is alphabets and all that need literals. So this now I can say introducing what we've done before. I am alias, so I can say identity, right? We call that identity, right? We call this first name, right? This year in Nigeria we call this surname, name, right? This here we call, let me just bring this down. Call this job title. What's your job title? Right, job title. And of course salary as salary, right? Salary as salary. Or let's call that monthly salary. Right? So what we're doing is generating a report, right? So just run this together, right? I can even do a concatenation here. Okay, let's do a concatenation here. Let's do a concatenation here. So that we can put everything that we've learned into one single cast. Concatenated with space, right? Concatenated with last name, right? So, and you see, so everything we have learned today in one single what? In one single program or one single code. If I run that, why are you giving me error? Okay. All right, look at it. Okay, let's give it an alias. So I use the as keyword, or just give it an alias. With an alias as full name. Give it an alias called full name. And yes, we'll just run it again. All right, so look at it, right? So we have employee ID as identity. We have concatenation of the first name with space with last name to give us the full name. We have job ID as job title. We have salary as monthly salary, right? For everyone who earns above what $10,000, right? So if we copy that again and they ask us to generate a report of those who earn below, right? For those who earn what? Those who earn below 10,000. Let me just copy this. For those who earn below what? Below 10,000, right? So this is above, so below, right? So what would we change in this statement? So can tell me, what would we change in this statement?
Just the
The
sign.
operator sign, just the sign.
The sun.
Awesome. So we just change this to below, right? That's less than $10,000. Less than $10,000. That's what we're doing. So if we run this now, it will give us a result of those who earn less than. So we have. So what it means now is that on this database now, I can see that we have just 50 people earning above $10,000, and we have 88 people earning below $10,000. Right? So what I just generated is a report. So if they come to me and say how many people earn above $10,000, right? I say we have just 15 people who earn above $10,000. How many people earn below $10,000? Oh, we have that as a great number. 88 people earn below $10,000.
So I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so from the first statement that we do select employee ID then identity, why didn't you put like the syntax? Why didn't you put the identity in close something
Yeah,
quotation
because
mark?
that is the way if the column, if the alias is going to be a single word, right? If the alias is going to be a single word, it is not necessary that you put it into a single quotation mark, right? It is only those that are what more than one word, right? That will put into. Do you understand? That will put it um into single quotation. I mean, if I take for example this one now, if I remove the job title, it will still work with this way,
Together.
right? It will still work this way. Do you
Okay.
understand?
Yes, sir.
What can you see title, right? If I remove the quotation from it, right, it will still, sorry, if I remove the quotation from it, it will still work as it's supposed to. Can you see? So it is only single words, but if I remove the quotation from this one now, right, and I say monthly salary, I just leave it like that, it is telling me that there's an error there, right? It's telling me that there's an error because this kind of alias needs to be in double quotation mark. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure, yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
If they say 10,000 and above, then you do equal
They
to or
say
greater than, Abi?
10,000
You
and
use,
above.
then you
Yes. So,
use the equal to or greater than sign.
yes. So if we say 10,000 and above, right, it would be, let's copy all of this. Right. So we say generate a report of all employees that earn at least earns at least 10,000. Can you see that they did not say above or below? They just said that earns at least 10,000. What you are saying in that situation is that the least number is what? Is 10,000. So you say greater than or equals to. Greater than or equals to. Right? Can you see? So if you look at all of this now, the number is 19 because we have included those earning 10,000 into the mix. Can you see? 10,000. I've included people earning 10,000 into the mix. Can you see? So those are the people that earn at least 10,000. Are you following me? Are we following me? Right. So you can do greater than or equals to. You can do less than or equals to. Right. So so the where clause, right? We say the where clause also works with what? With character, string, and date. Make sure that both are enclosed in what? In single quotation marks. So we can say that we want to know, generate a report of the employee with the name Willen, right? Generate a full report of the employee with the name what? With the name Willen. Of course, they didn't tell you if it is a first name or last name. Are we there? So what do we do? Let's press two, right? Let's go up. Okay, let's just say select, right? Employee underscore ID, first underscore name, last underscore name, right? What else do it? Maybe job ID. Okay, full report, right? Let's say salary, right? Let's say hire date. Not use hire date at all. Hire date. Let's say commission underscore PCT, right? From where? Employees. Where first name, right? We want to know if it's his first name now. First, the first name equals what? Willen, right? Where first name equals what? Willen, right? So you see that the statement is right, but it is not. There's nobody with the first name what? Willen. So what do? We change that to last name. Hopefully, there's somebody with the last name Willen. All right, look at it. So last name was Willen. Can you see? So the employees is employee 200. Her name is Jennifer. First name is Jennifer. Last name is Willen. She's the admin assistant. She earns $4,400. She was hired on the on 17th of September 1987, and she does not receive commission percentage. Right. So in this situation, we have restricted the result to just one employee. Just one employee. Are you following? So that is how awesome the where clause is. That is how awesome the where clause is. Right? We can also say that let's generate a report.
Sir,
Yes, ma'am.
please, the last one you just said, that you said you want to select the report for this particular person. You know, you use select, you put last name, first name, job ID.
Yes.
Can't we just write select all from employees?
Yes, we can use select all, right? I'm just doing a
Okay,
projection.
without putting this employee ID.
Right
Okay.
now, select all, right? Select all most of is not select all is beautiful, right? It's beautiful that we can do select all, but most of the time, right, you do not need all the information.
All the columns, okay.
You didn't exactly. You don't need all the columns, right? You don't need all the columns in the result. So in that place, that's why most of the time we don't do a full projection. We do a partial projection by just generating just the columns that are needed. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's why we don't do select all the time, right? But if they ask you to do a full column report, then you know that is select all, right? You don't have to do a listing of it, just a select all. But in this situation, I don't need all. I just need vital information about that. Sometimes it's just 2 columns that you need. Sometimes it's just 5 columns. Do you understand?
No. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Right. So this time around, we want to use the word clause with the date, right? So I'm just going to copy this. I'm just going to paste this, right? And we want to generate a report of all employees hired after 1987. Let's say 1990, 1992. Let's see, right? I generate a report of all employees hired after what? After 1992. So we say select employee ID, first name, last name. Hire date. Let's remove the salary. We don't need the salary, so I'm just going to remove salary from there. I don't need their commission percentage as well, right? So I say employee ID, first name, last name, job ID, and hire date from employees. What am I looking for? Hired before, right? Which column contains the hired information, right? Is their hire date, right? Look at it with respect to what the condition that we have. Hired after 1992. So we say hired date, hire underscore date is what we're using there. Hire underscore date. Where hire underscore date is what? After what? That is greater than, right? Greater than 1992 hyphen 01 hyphen 01. Right now, so I need you to understand this. The question is, they did not put us, they just told us 1992, right? Why am I using a full date? Right now, you cannot just say 1992. If I run this now, it will give me an error, right? Can you see it says incorrect date value 1992, right? The date is not correct because that is not the way date exists on the database. Are you following? So in that way, and I've told you that the way the date exists on the database is there's a date format. There's a date format on the database, right? And the date format is CCYY, right? or in some places you have it YYYY, right? The um the month MMDD, right? This is your date format, right? Some literatures you find it as YYYY, right? MMDD, right? So this is your date format, either of the two, right? CCYY or YYYY, right? That's your date format. This format. We'll talk about date format, more about date format as we proceed. So I'm just going to put in the full date format 01 01. Since I don't know the full timestamp or full date that you're talking about, so I'll rather start from the very first day of 1992, right? So all of the people hired afterwards 1992, right? So I can also say 31st, give me the same thing, right? Any date, right? Give me the same thing. So if I run this now, all these people, how many of them? 102. That is, the company started in only God knows how long, but before 1992, only 5 people were in the company. But after 1992, how many people joined? 102 people joined. So if I change the date to 1998, right? How many people joined after 1998? Right? You see, 50 people joined after 1998. Now, if you look at it, now the 1998 that I have here is so I want to say 12 1998, so that I exclude all the 1998. In the initial one, let me run that again. What I had was 01. Right now, what I have here is 01 31, that's 31st of January 1998. So everybody from February of that month, of that year, would come out, right? Look at the results. Can you see? This person was hired February 05. This was February 07. February, this was March and all that. So we have about 4 people hired, 5 people, 4 people hired in 1990. Oh, sorry, that's 1998. I mean, we have several of them that were hired in 1998, right? But I want to exclude all the 1998, right? If I want to exclude all the 1998, I'll use the last day of 1998, which is 31st of December 1998, right? So if I run this now, it will exclude all the 1998 from the list. So you have only 29 people has joined the company afterwards 1998. I hope you understand. So this is the way that you use uh, um, what's it called, arithmetic expression for, I mean, comparison operator for higher dates, right? So if I want to speak a particular date, I say equals to, right? If I say equals to, and I say 1999 08 3 0810, right? So I want to know who was hired on this date, right? Who was hired on this date? And I see that it's just one person, Karen, employee 9119, Karen Colmenares, right? Is a purchasing clerk and was hired on this date. Colmenares, right? Was hired on this date. So you can use multiple. I mean, you can use your I am comparison conditions operators to juxtapose what you're getting, right? I hope you understand all that I've just explained to us. Please let me know if you understood what I've just explained. Let me know if you understood what I just explained. I'm waiting for responses. Waiting for responses. Nobody's responding.
Sir. So
Yeah.
if you want to use if you want to put date, you just use the equal to sign.
You can use greater than. You can use less than. You can use greater than or
Or
equals to.
date.
Yes, you can use anyone for the date. You can use anyone for anything. Depends on the business case that you're looking for.
Okay.
If I say I want to know those that were hired on or before this date, on or before this date. The people that were hired on or before this date that you have there, what do? I say less than or equals to. Right? Can you see? All these people were hired before 1998, before the last day in 1998. Right? If I want to know people that were hired on this date and afterwards, right? On this day and on this date and after, right? I say greater than or equals to. These people who were hired on this day or after, right? Can you see all of these people? So you can use any of the what's it called, of the comparison operator on higher data as well. All right. Now before we proceed, we have less than we have about 40 minutes to go, but I need to help us look at these things and relate it to what we do. So I need a few people to tell me, how does this play out in what you do, right? Because it is not just about learning the skill. It's about seeing how you can use this in your workplace. So I need people who, Madam Anita, Lola, Vivian, Patricia, everybody, right? I need you to tell me, how do you think everything that we've done in select statement, how do you see it play out? What can you use this to do at your workplace? I need responses now. Tell us if it is useful for what you're so far. Tell us what if it's useful, if what you're seeing is useful, and right. Tell us if it is useful and how you see it play out in your workplace or at what you do. Please, we don't have time. Just go straight to it. Madam Anita, can you help us with that? Vivian. Madam Anita is not there. Vivian, can you help us?
Sir.
Well, yes. How do you see this play out? Do you think it's useful for what you do? And tell us an example of how this would work in your workplace.
Okay, first off, I just passed an interview for a startup anyways. So far, with the experience of this SQL that I'm learning now, I'm actually still applying this almost the same formula for some Excel work or some Microsoft Word work. You know, some formulas that or some principles that are being taught in SQL. I use them, a few of them in Word and then Excel to generate some reports. Okay, let's say more like creating, let's say generating minutes reports or statistics on, although they don't have an already existing data actually, maybe just a few I've been able to create for few data based off of what the financial commitments they've done so far.
Okay.
I collect the reports from I think from July up until now, what they've incurred, the costs that they've incurred so far in development and the rest and the rest and the rest. And I've been able to do a few things on Excel, just a few things. I know that's the first step, just generating the data, creating the data. Then I could actually use that data on my Excel, probably not migrating it directly, but at least from data I created, I could use it to create something already on SQL on Workbench.
Okay, so my question is that, do you think that what you create on Excel, you can create it on Excel? Do you think you can do that on on
SQL.
my SQL workbench.
Yes. And it's
Right?
been
Do you know
helpful.
that? Okay,
But
let me say this. Do
not
you know
like
that?
that's what no that's not where I don't know if there's anything called like moving data from Excel to SQL. I don't know, but then I feel it's easier on SQL than doing that on Excel.
Do you know that you can create a minute, right? In your minutes, right? You can create it as a table,
Wow. Okay. I don't know.
right? So you want to create your minutes, right? So the question will be, what are the attributes that a minute report would have? Attributes of a minute report, right? I just want to help you see attributes that a minute report will have. It will have a unique value, right? Say minute ID.
Yeah.
It will have a minute ID. Not every minute is unique, right? So it will have a minute ID, right? Are we there?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh. So it will have what else do you have in a minute? You have dates of the minute, right? The date the minute happened, the meeting happened, right? You have attendees,
Yeah.
right? Attendees. You have what do you have again? You have the text of the minute, right? The text of the minute, right? So you say the text, that is all the things that everybody said and all that, right? So if I'm going to call this and I'm going to say VACA, I can say VACA 2, 5,000, or depending on how much of word people used to say, that means say 10,000, 10,000, 10,000 characters, right? Are you following me? Right?
Yes.
So you can create these as your, so every minute, right? Every minute can be stored on your database. That's what it means.
Okay.
Are you following me? Every minute can be stored on your database. It's as simple as that, right? You know that people use this database to store movies, right? So for a movie database, right, it'll be that what is the name of the movie, the title, the producer, the cast, then the movie itself. They will upload it into the database as well. So you create a column called movies. The movie itself will be there, or a link to the movie will be there. So everything can be stored in the database. That's what I'm trying to let you know.
Wow.
Everything can be stored as long as it has a structure. Are you following me? As long
Yes,
as it
sir.
has a structure, we can store it inside the database. Right. I need somebody else to tell us how this plays out, how they see this work out in their job. Right. How you see this work out. I need to let me see those who are online. Vivian has shared with us. Lola, are you there? Madam Anita.
Here.
Okay, Lola is there.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Can you share with us how you see this work out? How you see this useful? How useful do you think this would be in what you do?
I think, okay, for me, it's going to be easy. Say, for example, I think that apart from minutes of maintenance, when I have like a lot of data and I want to select one particular one, say, for example, um, I have a data from Spotify, right? And I'm supposed to select how much has been played in Belarus, for example. All I need to do is make a from my table, say for example, for my table Davido, select how many times his song has been played in Belarus for a specific period of time. And all I do that, I select that because most times the numbers are scattered everywhere. Like when they send the like Excel sheets, usually it's just everywhere. So we first of all I have to start. Sometimes we miss a lot of things, and then I can't necessarily put all the figures together. Most times you're just like, this thing's 1 million. I mean, you might not be up to that, you get what I'm saying? But like now I know it's just 2 million streams from Belarus. And I just do that. Select from all the songs that have been played in Belarus and everything just necessarily just comes to my face. So I don't have to start type sometimes it's been 1 week going through an Excel sheet. I could just done it in a minute.
Exactly. Right. So if I have a good understanding of what you do, right, you have
Sorry, is anyone in class? Hello?
Hi.
Oh, I thought I was the only one. Or my network was the issue. All right.
all right. Sorry. I had network failure somewhere out there. I'm back. Right. We're rounding up very soon. All right. So I was talking to Lola, right, and I said that right. So you probably have information about your artist on different streaming platforms sent to you, right? All you can just do is create a database that houses all of these informations, and you have for each streaming platform, you have a column for each streaming platform. How much Belarus Play, Boom Play, Apple Play, Google Play, all of that, right? And it's easy for you to stack these numbers into those columns such that when you need the numbers, right, you can just write an SQL select statement on each of those columns, right? And it becomes very easy. Your data becomes seamless, right? Instead of having a whole lot of data to go through on Excel, right? And don't get me wrong. Excel is very useful. Excel is very powerful and useful, right? But SQL just simplifies a whole lot of stuff for us, right? It makes it easier. Makes it easier to store these informations and work with them, right? It becomes neater, it becomes easier to access, right? That is where we're going to. Madam Anita, I can see that you were trying to get to me. Please unmute your mic to participate in class.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yes, talk to me.
So I don't understand. You asked a question, so I don't understand the question you were asking the other time.
I'm saying that
we should say something bad.
I'm saying that what we're doing, we've been talking about SQL select statements, right? We've been selecting data from different tables and all of that. And I said, how do you see this play out in what you do, right? How do you see this play out in what you do? Do you see it as useful? Do you think it's useful with what you do presently at work?
Yes, sir. It's very useful.
Okay. Can you share with us an example of how you think it is useful?
Yeah, like in my place of work is we deal with health insurance, HMO,
Okay.
health management organization. So we have a lot of enrollees that we work with, enrollees data that we work with. We have NHIS, the one from the federal government. We have private. We have we have a lot of them. Like the one from the NHIS, we have over like 20,000 or thereabouts. I don't know. It's even more than that. But I know it's going to like it was going like 100,000, something like that. So we don't handle all of them. But the one we handle in our Lagos office should be up to 20,000. And the whole company should be like 100,000. So we have that data. Then we have the private. Then we have others too that are still there. So of course, it's going to help me a lot. Like looking for names, looking for a particular ID and all that. So this is really going to help me.
Awesome. That makes sense. So this is what I want us to do, right? And the way to learn faster is that you want to apply it to what you do every day, right? So if it's possible, right? If it's possible that you have presently, all of us on this class now know how to create a database, right? You can create a database, you can create schemas and all of that. So I would advise that you begin to create your schemas, you begin to create schemas for yourself with your real work data, right? And begin to store them, right? It might not be something that you apply directly at work, but for your practice sake, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? For your practice sake, right? Just take a part of your data in the office, create a few tables, right? And begin to populate those tables. Of course, we've not talked about populating tables and that, right? But we'll get to that maybe by next class. More hopefully by next class we'll get to that. And you begin to look at how to populate tables. When you populate the tables, then you begin to query the tables, right? Using select statement and all that. That is the way, right? But for the sake, because we have not learned how to populate tables, right? We've not learned how to populate tables, right? What you can do presently, that's why I gave us that schema that you have, right? So look at that schema, the HR schema, and look at different tables that you have in that schema and begin to query them, right? Begin to query them, begin to use select statements and everything from that schema. That way you would learn faster, you will learn easier, right? You learn faster, you will learn easier. All right, so want to wrap up today's class very soon. Right, want to wrap up today's class very soon. Yeah, this is my last slide. Right, I just want to talk about all the comparison operators that you have. Right, next class we'll continue with them. But today we've talked about equals to, and it says the comparison operators are used in conditions that compare one expression with another value or expression. Wrapping up already. I just want to show you a few things, and we'll proceed. Right, I just want to show you a few things, discuss a few things, and we'll be done. Right. My network is beginning to be terrible. All right, so we've talked about equals to, we've talked about the greater than, we've talked about the greater than or equals to, we've talked about less than, we've talked about less than or equals to, and that's where we stop. So from next class, we'll talk about not equals to, the between, this in, and the like, and the is not, right? That's what we'll be talking about in next class, right? That's what we'll be talking about in next class. So I'll drop some awesome assignment with us on the group that we will treat. Trust me, I'm going to drop it, right? Not like last week where I did not drop the assignment. This, I'm going to drop at least about 10 questions that we're going to solve with the HR schema that we have. I'm going to drop about 10 questions for us this week so that we can use them to practice, right? Any question before we wrap up to this class? Any question? I don't want, my network is beginning to mess up. I don't know what is happening, so I don't want to mess things up. Right. So any question, please, before we wrap up? Any question? Any question? Any question? Any question? Any question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please go ahead.
Sir, let's assume, okay, we've been learning how to create, how to save, and how to do all of that. Let's assume you generated the report. So how do you present it to how do you like remove the report from the workbench? Is
How
it
do you
possible, or are you
how
just
do
going
you
to show them like print or send or something? Is it
you
possible?
how
Your
to I don't
results,
understand.
your report, like this one now that you generated, this table
Okay.
now, this one now, this data now.
All right. All right. So how do we generate them? How do we generate the reports into an external sheet? Right?
Yes.
Yeah, basically what we do is that when you generate a report like this, look at this. I want to look for it where exports. All right, look at it. From under query, can you see under query? Can you see?
Yes,
Can you see
sir.
my screen? All right, you come
Yes.
to export result. Can you see export result?
Okay.
If you click on export result, can you see? If I
Okay.
export this result, now it says employee salary increase report. Can you see? That's what it
Yeah.
generates, right? If I save this, no, let me call it. Let me
Okay.
call it salary employees report. Let me just call it employees report. Right. If I save this on my desktop now, right, that has been exported. So if I go to my desktop, you see employees report. Can you see? If I click on it, it will open.
Oh, to save as Excel.
Yeah, it will save as
Oh,
an Excel
wow.
sheet. So
Wow.
from that Excel sheet, you can now begin to draw graphs. You can begin to plot charts. You can
Wow.
take these into to your R, you can take it into Python, you can take it into Power BI, you can take it into any platform, right? You can take it into any platform to go and further do stuff on it or to further analyze the data, right? But from here, you go to query, you say export result, or basically you just come to, can you see this can you see where my cursor is?
Yes, sir.
Export. So if I just click on export, right? Can you see it will say you export result set? Can you see export result set? Right. So let's see what it gives to us. Yeah. Fast. Hold on.
Wow.
Right. Can you see? So all of these are what we generated from the data set. Look at it. The first is Louis Pope. Can you see? Louis Pope. Can you, that's Louis Pope, right? So you see the column names as you have them, right? So if I go back into there, let's go back into this place and okay, I think we have one that we had beautiful aliases for. All right, so this is it. So we run this now, right? And we say export, and we call it report one. Let's call it report one, and I save it on my desktop. All right.
So this is likewise importing, right? You can import an Excel into SQL.
Yes, you can import. You can import as well. Yes, you
Wow.
can import.
Okay.
Can you see? See the way they come out: identity, full name, title, salary, right? So you can begin to do multiple analysis or more things that you want to do from it from here. So that's the way it works. That's the way you export. That's the way you export.
Thank you very much, sir.
I hope I'm able
Yes.
to answer your question. Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Any other question, please? If you want to import data, can you see? Come to server. You can also export data from server, right? You can also export data from server. Loading. 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 Hold on. All right. So can you see? This uses what we call an export engine, right? Export engine. So I can even export a whole schema. Can you see? I can export a whole schema and all that. But this is more advanced, right? This is more advanced. We're not going to look into this. This is more advanced, right? But you can export from your data from data server. Then you can also import from that part as well, right? Can you see? Import data from what? From dump folder. But all of these are a bit advanced, right? So, but yes, you can import and export data from from inside and outside of your database, right? I hope I was able to answer your question.
Very well, sir. Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Awesome.
So you didn't use the import. That's to import. That's you can import data from.
Yes, you can. So okay, let's do an import. Let's see if we can quickly run. All right. I hope you can still see my screen. So I'll cancel this and start again. All right, server to import, data import, right? Then I'm going to go to the location where I want to import from, my desktop. Coming. this computer. Okay, desktop. Right, desktop.
Can I see your screen again?
Who can see my screen? Can anybody see my screen?
I can see, sir.
Yes, I can see it.
IBK.
IBK, log out and log in. I'm trying to look for Excel files. Basically, this is not allowing me to choose what I need to choose. Well, like I said, right, the import is not as easy as import schema. Default schema to be imported to. The import is not as easy as we look at, right? This is importing through what an export file. Now, how do I put it this now, right? The import is not the way we exported through exported the data with the export function, and it created a CSV file, right? It's possible for us to load the data in that form, but it's not as simple, right, as it is, right? Because presently I'm not even able to. What you need to import when you want to import is actually not an Excel file or a CSV file, right? The data has to probably be in a .SQL file, right? Or as a schema. Let's assume I have a schema, right? Let's assume I have a schema that I want to bring in, a whole schema. Now that schema is going to have the .db, right? The .db extension, right? If I have a .db extension now, I'll be able to import it, right? I'll be able to import it. So basically, when we talk about importing, you're not really importing a file. What you can import is the whole database. I follow me. If it is a file, then it has to be the SQL file that we use to recreate the file. The .SQL that you use to create the file, right? But most cases, right, we create the data inside SQL and we export it, right? But yes, it's possible to also import, right? I do not have a database that I can import, right? Unless if I want to first of all export a database and import it, I can export any of these databases, then I now import them back into the system. But exporting is very complex, right? Exporting is complex. You have to choose, and it takes time, right? It takes time. I can go to advanced options and begin to set a whole lot of privileges and constraints for the export to work. So it is not a very easy approach, right? It's not a very easy approach. Can you see a whole lot of things I have to go through: flush privileges, force, XBlob, conversions, and all of that. Plenty, a whole lot of time zone utility files that needs to be worked on, table logs, flush logs, a whole lot of stuff comes into play in that process. So that's all of these actually administration. Can you see it's an administrative process? It is an administrative process. But just know that yes, you can export your data using this export function here. You can export your data. Oh, perfect. This is what I'm looking for. Yes, this is for Excel files. Yes, import. Perfect. So if I say bring in this guy, yep, yeah, that's for. Yeah, put it inside HR. Yep, this is how it looks like. Yep, yep. So there's the importing the file and there's the importing a database, then the exporting a file and there's the exporting a database, right? Data import is going on. Now, what is happening presently is that it is doing a conversion. Doing a conversion of that data set. Can you see it's importing, log, importing. Any failure? Let me see. Okay, importing. Next, finish. Right. So if I reload my database, I should have. Can you see? This is the table. This is the column. So if I say, what are we before? Select all from SAFI database or table. Right, this is it. This is the table that I just imported. Right, so you can do that with the import function here. Hold on. Where are you again? Where are you? Where are you? Yeah, so from this kind of, can you see the what's it called? The icon for it. So you have exports, then you have imports. So these ones help you import and export a file. But from the data server here, you import a database and you import a database. Right. So yes, you can export a file. I think I've answered that question. Any question? Any other question? Any other question? Any other question, please? Are we still there?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Any other question? Do you understand what I just explained to
No,
you?
no. Yes, I
Yes?
do. I do.
All
The
right.
question I wanted to ask was that
Any
how do
other
you
question?
generate the how do you
How do you
generate a
generate?
database? A data, how do you get a database that you want to create a
How do you
database? How
generate?
do you, yes,
How do
how
you
do you
generate a
get the
database?
data? Yes, sir. Yes.
I'm trying to understand that. How do you create a database, right?
How do you get that data? That database, how do you get them?
Which data?
We're talking about that database. So I'm
Yes.
asking, how do we get that database? How does it come about? The
And now,
database itself.
of course, you first of all, you have to create a. So this is what it is, right? We've talked about it. That's where we started from. You create a schema, right? Or you can create a database, right? When you create a database and the name of the database ABC, right? I think I have ABC, right? Let's say a JGHIJ, whatever, right? When you create this now, are you following me? If I reload this now,
Yes.
can you see it here? Can you see it here? Right. So if I use this database, JK, right? If I say use this database and I use this database, right? Everything I begin to create, I can now begin to create tables inside this database. That is how we created all of this now. So if my tables were outside, I can begin to import tables into this database.
Database, okay.
Do you
Okay.
understand? I can begin to
Yes,
import
now I
or
understand.
use the create table function to create these tables inside database. That's how a database is formed. Do you understand? So what you have is you create the database, then you begin to populate the database with table. That is
You
creating
need to
tables
populate.
inside it.
Okay, so you are the one that will populate the database.
Yes, you populate the database by yourself. Yeah. The data has to
Okay.
come from you. That is why you are creating. Remember when the assignment that I gave you where I said generate 5 entities and generate 5 relatable or generate 5 entities that are that relate to each other, right? Those entities are what you use to form your tables in the data.
Okay. 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 So the question I wanted to ask is this: that for let's say, for example, there is a company that is just coming up and they want
There's a
to
what?
have a database.
There's a
I said,
company that
for
just came and
example,
they want
there is
to.
a company
Okay.
that they just came into existence. No, they
Okay.
just started. And maybe
Okay.
we have been in other country, but they just started in Nigeria. So they want to have their own database in Nigeria, the market and all that, about their products. So how do you create the database for that company?
And now, so what you're going to do is same process now, right? Let's say the company is what company do I like now? Aldo, right? The
Mm-hmm.
company is Aldo, right? and we create Aldo, right? We create Aldo. Let me show you. Can you see Aldo? Can you see it? Right? And I can say use
Yes.
Aldo. Right? Now, what that means is that so they want to create a table called customer table. So they say create table customer. Right? And they create all the attributes of the customer table. Right? So when they create their customer table, when they have their first customer, are you following me? When they have the first customer, if you buy a shoe from them and they collect your information, then they put the information inside this table. That is how a database is not generated in a day. It's a daily activity of an organization.
Okay.
Do you understand? It's a daily activity of an organization. So what it means is that 2 new customers came into the store today to come and buy shoes from them, right? What do? They collect the information of those customers. They take it to the backend, which is where the database administrator or the SQL developer is, right? They take it to the backend. They give it those information. He puts those information into the database. Do you understand what I'm saying? The same way you use Excel, the same way you use Excel to create those information, right? Customer details. Exactly. So it's the same way you are using SQL to do that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
To do that, okay. It's clear now, sir, because most companies use Excel. So
yes, most organizations use Excel, but as much as beautiful as Excel can be, right? SQL is the better method to store your information, especially data information like that. Yes.
All right, sir. Thank you. It's clear.
Any other question before we wrap up today? Any other question? All right. In the absence of question, thank you for coming to class today. I hope that you learned something in class. Please do not leave what you have learned in class. Like I said, by latest tomorrow, I will drop all the assignments that is required of us or that I need us to do. I'll drop them so that we can begin to work with them. Be active on the on our WhatsApp group. You can ask questions, do your research as well, right? Ask questions, give your feedbacks as well when we ask for feedback. Please, that's the way for us to get better and in serving you. So please, let's do that. Ask questions if you need us, if you have any questions that is bothering you, and then yes, do your assignment, and we will meet on. So we're in chapter 6 already, right? By next class, we should be able to do another 4 chapters by next weekend, and then that will take us to maybe 2 more chapters. And after SQL, we're going to what we call Git, right? And our program director just informed on the group today in the field to come and have a discussion with us on what is possible, and you're able to ask them questions on what their experience has been, how the job market is, how working in tech actually looks like, and if it is rewarding or not. Just ask them all the necessary questions that you can ask them. I'm also hoping that I can bring one of our students, my ex-students, or from the previous cohorts to come and have a discussion with us on what they are doing so far, how it has been for them, and how they're improving, so that you know what is possible. So hopefully by next week, right, or during the week, we'll give you a breakdown of what that would look like. So be prepared, but do not lose hope. Continue to learn, continue to ask questions, continue to read, do your research as well. There's more, read more, watch the videos when I drop them, and we'll continue to be great. Thank you for coming. Do have a great week, everybody. Peace from here. Bye. If you have pending discussion with me, right? People that have pending discussion with me, you know what I'm talking about. Please, I'm waiting for you, my dear. Right? Waiting for you, my dear. Thank you.
Okay, good
Right.
night.
All right. All right, everyone. Bye.